Okay, haven't made any more progress on the actual digging of a trench since the last video, but I'm going to try and run the first section of pipe down. I've got a 300-foot roll here. I've got a couple of these, 3 of these that should hopefully make the whole run, but this first one should come from here and make it all the way past the gate. This pasture over here does a couple of things. One is it lets me cover up this trench next to the driveway. It means that the access to that pasture will be a little bit easier, but probably most importantly will let me test the pump and make sure that we have enough pressure to get the right level of flow from this hill. So I'm going to get digging. Well, not digging. I'm going to unwrap this guy. I'm a little bit nervous about how much wrangling I'm going to have to do to unravel and straighten this PEX. It's the PEX B, I think, not the PEX A, which is a little bit cheaper, a little bit more durable, but also harder to straighten. If we can straighten that out and get this at least laid in here, tested, if it tests okay, then maybe bury. And I'll feel pretty accomplished by doing that. So I can get some unwrapping done. Not quite sure what I'm doing here. I've sort of uncoiled, well, not uncoiled it, I've elongated it so it's not wrapped around itself anymore. But obviously we're a long way from where we need to go. I'd like to get this straight. So I think what I'm going to do is just, kind of hard to do this holding one hand in the camera, but sort of straighten it up against my knees as I work my way down the line and see if I can get it straight, or at least less twisted. See how that goes. Straightening it took an hour, which actually in the grand scheme of things wasn't that bad. I notice I have this thing whereby I'll struggle with something and I'll work on it for 5 minutes and I'll be like, oh God, there's so little improvement over 5 minutes. It's going to take forever to get this thing straight. And like I can go one of two ways when I hit that point. One way is give up, try and find a smarter way of doing it, find an excuse to take a break, and then just never finish the project. The other way sometimes kicks in, which is, hey, look, you spent 5 minutes on it, you got a little bit done. If you spend more time on it, you'll get more done. And I was trying to do the mental math of like, if I got a foot done in 5 minutes and this is 300 feet, I'll be here forever. And you know what? You get better at it, you get faster at it, and you realize what you're doing. I don't know why I feel like such a hero, but I unrolled 300 feet of PEX. And it feels good, man. All right, I'm gonna lay this in the trench. Not gonna cover it up yet. Then I'll go get my pump and see if it pumps. 300 feet, step one. So after my excitement of unrolling the PEX and getting it in the ditch, I was looking forward to hooking it up to the pump that I have here. Only to realize that in my grab bag of connectors and whatnot, I couldn't go from a 1/2-inch NPT to 1-inch PEX. So I've been down to Home Depot, it's a day later, and think I can give this guy a test. My goal with this test is to see, can I get water to the top of the hill? Did a bunch of calculations. I don't really know what I'm doing, but did enough sort of math to think that this pump might work. The water's coming up through about 300 feet of just hoses from faucet down there, down past where the horses are. I don't know if you can see them, but the water is pumped up from a pond, which is another, I don't know, 500 feet down that way, further down the hill. There's a pump at the pond running off mains that feeds into a pressure tank that's pressurized at around 70 psi, so pretty high. And water gets out here. So you can see I've just got a little ball valve here going into the pump. And if I turn it on, the pump is obviously not running. We have flow. Not a ton of flow, but we have flow. The goal with the pump is to get the water the rest of the way up that hill and then up all the way to the barn. I don't need to support a lot of irrigation. If I can get 150 or so gallons up there every day in the summer months, that'd be great. So what I have here is a 12 volt DC pump. Max draw is 23 amps, so it's a fair amount of power. It says, you can read this probably as well as I can, 7 gallons a minute at open flow, so I assume that means with no pressure, but it can pump up to 60 psi. I'm not sure what the flow rate is at 60 psi. I imagine there's some curve connecting the two. So I'm going to set the camera down and I'll show you the difference in flow between pump on, pump off, and then we'll hook it up to the 300 foot of PEX and see if it pumps it all the way to the top with the pump on, and see if it makes it up there with the pump off. That'd be interesting. All right, let's set the camera down and have a look. All right, let's try this pump. Here we have no flow, the pump's not on. Let's turn the flow on. Not the greatest framed shot, but you see water's flowing. Let's turn the pump on and see what happens. Just hooking it up directly to a car battery or a small battery. Well, the pump definitely does something. I wonder though if the supply into the pump is not enough to support the maximum output of this pump. It's a positive displacement pump. I wonder if we can get starved. Does that even make sense? I'd love to hear from someone who actually knows what they're doing, but I have a feeling that I might need some sort of storage tank that's being fed in at whatever rate can be fed by the irrigation system up to this point, and the pump can pump out of that storage tank the rest of the way to get sort of maximum efficiency and flow through this. So we can see the pump does something. I'm going to hook it up to the PEX and see what happens at the end of this 300 foot line. I'll hook it up and take you up to the top. So I've got the PEX on, just using a temporary pipe clamp rather than one of the proper crimp connectors. Just I figure this is only temporary, so see if that doesn't leak. It doesn't seem to be leaking. If you look through the filter, that can focus. You can see flow's happening, so it's going somewhere. The pump is obviously not on right now. I'm curious if there's just enough pressure in the system to make it all the way up to the top. So I'm going to walk up to the top and see if we have water. All right. Dry. No water. If I was smart, I guess I could have sort of walked down and felt where the water made it to. I was kind of secretly hoping that the existing pump system would pump it all the way up here, but wishes don't always come true, right? I'll go turn the pump on for a bit and walk back up. All right, so I just ran the pump for 90 seconds and reviewed the tape, and we have water. It is not a gushing stream of water, but it's water. Got water up to the top of the hill. Not a huge scientific breakthrough, but good enough for me. I'm going to walk down the line, make sure that there are no leaks. I don't think there are any. Make sure that it's deep enough all the way along, then bury it back up and call this the end of part 2. Part 3 is probably contingent on finding a piece of machinery that can get the rocks out of the field up there. But we're so close to the barn. We'll get the water up there soon. I'm happy. Good work for today. I'll be back with part 3.